The mitigation waiver part of the ordinance is very important. If a family lives within a mile of the ridge, it means the wind company would have to negotiate a waiver with the family before it could site a turbine near them. This is only fair because these families are the ones most affected by the noise and flicker of the turbines and the loss of property value. Many of these families may take a chance with the noise and other problems and sign a mitigation waiver for a fee. Some may even sell their homes to the wind company. But whatever they do, it will be their own choice, not someone else's, not the town's, not the selectmen's, not the wind company's, and certainly not a couple of their neighbors on top of the ridge. If the wind company can offer leaseholders $20,000 per turbine per year, then they certainly have the money to negotiate a few waivers with our families near the ridge. The ordinance also makes it easy to develop our own community wind project on the town lot, rather than give away our wind resource to developers from southern Maine and Wall Street. We have lots of very smart and talented people right here in Jackson. If they put their heads together, I'm sure that they can come up with a project that benefits the whole town, not just a few individuals. However, when the planning board submitted the ordinance to the selectmen so it could be brought to the town for an up or down vote, the selectmen wouldn't do it. They had other ideas. They want a less restrictive ordinance and say things like, "Trust us, the turbines don't make any noise." It's all nonsense. The families on the ridge won't be bothered. Let's go with the state ordinance or something even less restrictive. The state knows what they're doing. The state will protect us if the wind company gets out of line. We want to push this project through. Well, the state sure didn't stick up for the people in Mars Hill. They stuck up for the wind company. And the people in Freedom and Vinyl Haven say the state model ordinance is the problem because it allows turbines to be placed way too close to people's homes. There are no do-overs when dealing with wind companies. We have only one chance to get it right. If the wind company spends $3.6 million putting up a turbine and it is proved to be too loud at someone's house, the wind company knows that there is absolutely no solution. They are not going to tear that turbine down. They are not going to move it. They are not going to turn it off. They are not even going to slow it down like they promised to in Freedom, and didn't. Even if some of our citizens sue Mount Harris, and maybe the town of Jackson, it is much cheaper for the wind company to tie it up in court than to actually solve the noise problem. Like Robert Rand said, once they turn them on, they'll never turn them off. Mount Harris Wind wants you to believe that the planning board's ordinance is a ban on wind power development. That's nonsense. They just don't want to negotiate mitigation waivers with the families on the ridge if they don't have to. It would cost them more money, it would take more time, and they might have to shuffle the turbines around a bit. But you can't blame a business for wanting to save a little money. If Mount Harris and the selectmen can get the voters in town to approve the less restrictive state model ordinance or some other ordinance they cook up, then Jackson can be delivered over to Mount Harris on a silver platter. And Mount Harris would save a lot of time and money and could go anywhere in town and put turbines anywhere they wanted. Now that brings up an interesting question. Now that Dixmont is looking a little more expensive because of that mitigation waiver, just how many turbines will fit in Jackson if you put them 700 feet apart like Andy Price from Mount Harris Wind said they could? Well, here's a map of the ridge. Let's start putting the turbines up by Route 7 and continue down the ridge until we get to Thorndike. Well, would you look at that? That's 18 turbines. Let's put 3 over here on this little spur, and throw a couple in over in Thorndike for good measure, and we have a grand total of 24. So who needs Dixmont if you can get that many turbines in Jackson? Now CES and Mount Harris have said they will put in 6 to 9 turbines, but we won't really know until they pull a permit, will we? So if they did put in 18 to 24 turbines, how big would the transmission line have to be? And where would it go? Would it follow the Hatch Road to the West Chase Road, over to the Hadley Mill Road, and then to the transmission line in Dixmont? How much land would they have to take by eminent domain? Lots of questions and not many answers. Now here's another huge question. CES and Mount Harris Wind say they are going to use the standard 390-foot GE 1.5 megawatt turbines. But why wouldn't they switch to the new 490-foot GE 2.5s? GE says the new larger turbines would be perfect for the Northeast, where space is at a premium. And they give 40% more power, too. A year ago, Richard Silkman from CES indicated he did not want a 400-foot height restriction in our ordinance for turbines. So I'd say we'll be getting the taller ones, no matter what Mount Harris is saying right now. A less restrictive ordinance would allow for these larger turbines, and our planning board's ordinance would too. But at least our ordinance says the setback shall be 13 times turbine height, which is 5,070 feet for the 390-foot GE 1.5s and 6,370 feet for the 490-foot 2.5s. Dixmont and Montville have the 1 mile setback, but our planning board was the only one to think of the 13 times turbine height setback. Another great protection for our citizens. The Selectmen's less restrictive ordinance would cheat Jackson families on the ridge. The very families who live closest to the turbines out of any choice in their future. Our families were there first, and they have invested for years in their property and in their families' lives. It wouldn't be fair. On November 17, 2009, the town of Dixmont voted overwhelmingly, by 229 to 78, a 3-to-1 margin, to support a 1 mile setback ordinance with mitigation waivers, similar to Jackson's proposed ordinance. So it's up to us now. Will we defend all of our citizens like Dixmont did? Our vote will decide the fate of all of our lives for the next 20 to 30 years, especially those families who live near the ridge. And our vote will also decide the fate of our beautiful little town and the beautiful rolling hills of Jackson. If you agree that industrial wind turbines do not belong anywhere near people and would like to help protect Jackson families on the ridge, please go to www.jacksonwind.org. Thanks.